All right, we did it. We're on the road. We're live. See how many people will hop on here. This is kind of an impromptu. We missed you guys a lot earlier this week. We weren't, back at the house where I normally am to do these things, and so I didn't get my normal lives on Monday and Wednesday. But we're gonna run it down here tonight on Friday night for you guys. So top of the top, what's going on? Let a few more people filter in here over on YouTube before we really get going and get into the juicy stuff that you guys want to hear about. Lots of good news this week. I'm kind of glad I waited to do the live this week because we got a lot of cool stuff that came out Thursday and Friday this week. You guys can hear me good. I assume so. It says the sound's good on my side. So hopefully that's the case for y'all too. People, okay, they can hear me. You say likes the juice. All right, cool. So again, we'll let a couple more people filter in here before we really get going. In case you've been living under a rock, we did drop the minimums over there at Digital Wealth Partners down to 50,000 XRP. So if you want institutional custody, just like BlackRock has for their ETFs, you can reach out to Digital Wealth Partners if you have at least 50,000 XRP and get going with them. Seen a huge influx of people wanting to take advantage of that offer. And, so just be patient, give them a little grace in response times. I know that they are inundated with a lot of people. We've scaled up, we've added personnel, but they are also still being trained. So trying to make sure we take care of everybody. There are a lot of people that have been like, well, why didn't you make the minimums lower? I got to be able to make sure that we have enough personnel to handle everything. And I don't think we're going to have to make the minimums much lower over the long term. I think we're going to see some movement here on XRP, like we'll get into tonight when we run down all the fun stuff that came out Thursday and Friday this week. Heck of a day, I don't know if you guys saw the tweet from Brad Garlinghouse, but there's been a lot of people, especially over the last really 5 years. Ripple's been in a lawsuit and people have been disheartened. People have invested in this asset, continue to be confident, but everybody has a breaking point, right? Like whether it's your spouse or your friends, or you hear some FUD and it's just a bad day, you get to a point where you're like, man, like, is this really ever going to happen? And I don't waver. I've had enough conversations at this point that I know for sure we're good. But I know a lot of people out there I've been really blessed to be in some really good rooms and talk to some really good people. And my confidence in it's unshakable because of that. But not everybody has that experience. So I get it. Like, you can get beaten down, especially if the market goes sideways for a long time and you're anticipating returns based on efforts of other people. And you're getting all these fantastic announcements about Ripple and the price is still where it's at, right? And I've said this before, but I don't know that everybody listens when I talk. So I'm going to state it one more time for you. Ripple cannot be the reason that XRP's price goes to where everybody wants it to go. If they were, it would be a security of Ripple. XRP in and of itself is not a security of Ripple, and that's what we want it to be. We want it to be its own asset, its own ledger, completely separate of Ripple and the company. So it's a global infrastructure. And if it was predicated on Ripple's efforts and they were the one that controlled everything, and that's the whole narrative that's out there, right? Like all the Bitcoin maxis and all the people that stay away from XRP and they FUD it and say all these things. Look, there is some things about it that I don't make any bones about. Ripple sells XRP onto the market every single month to fund their business. But it's to build out the infrastructure so that the adoption's there when the price is a high price. But Ripple is not going to be what causes XRP to go to a high price. It's not going to happen. Now, have they put everything in place to take advantage of that? Absolutely. And that's really kind of the whole bet that I've made with the company and everything that we've set up too. Everything that we've built for the last 3 years is predicated on XRP going to thousands of dollars. I'm not going to be the one that causes that to happen either, right? There are other parties that have made decisions long before I even knew about this stuff, or you probably, if you're watching this, and conversations have been had. I wasn't a part of those. I didn't get to make those decisions. I just know what the outcome is, right? And so that's why, if you have an edge in an industry, it's not insider trading or anything like that. If you see something that other people don't, like Michael Burry, right? During the housing crisis, before the housing crisis, he created a full financial instrument to bet against the housing crisis that never existed before, and went to the banks, and they were like, yeah, we'll take that bet. Sure. And he almost lost. He was down to the last little bit before it actually panned out for him. And it took him 2 years for him to be right. It drug out a lot longer than he thought it was going to, of them patching things up. And that's really what's happened here, right? Like, this has taken a lot longer than most people had anticipated when they made the initial investment. But I think that has actually cultivated a lot of skills, traits, and beliefs that is going to allow people to maintain their wealth on the other side of price appreciation. If it was easy, anybody that comes into money very quickly loses money very quickly. If you had the patience and diligence to be consistent in your faith and belief around something, and you continue to educate yourself and build your skill set and your knowledge to be able to manage that on the other side of it, which hopefully you guys, that's a lot of what I come on here for. Even if you don't get it all from me, if at least you're starting to understand where this is going and positioning yourself and educating yourself to make sure that you make the most of it, that's really all I want with all the stuff that I do. I just don't want people to end up lottery winners and everybody to go broke in 3 to 5 years because they don't understand the tools that are at their disposal on the other side of price appreciation, and how to mitigate taxes and structure their estate and protect themselves from creditors. All the stuff we do at Digital Ascension Group and Digital Family Office and Digital Wealth Partners, the whole umbrella of companies that we have to be able to help you guys. Again, you can work with us, you can work with somebody else. I'm cool either way. I just want people to align themselves with the right people now before price appreciation happens. So anyway, kind of back to the crux of that. A lot of people have thought that XRP and Ripple, Ripple's got ROUSD and they're not focused on XRP and all this other FUD that's come out for forever. Brad squashed that today. I don't know if you guys saw his tweet or not, but he said XRP is at the center of everything that Ripple's doing. Lock in. And that's been it only benefits them if it gets the adoption and price appreciation that we all want it to. They can't be the one that causes it, like I mentioned before, but they can build everything to be ready for it. And that's what they've done with the acquisition of Hidden Road, with Rail, with Medico, with G Treasury, all the stuff that's rolled out right here at the end or the beginning of Q4 in 2025. They're ready. Things are crossing the line here for them to actually be able to take full advantage of this and use it if it's a high price. And it just so happens to be right at the time the reverse carry trade and everything I've been talking about for a year and a half is looking like it's going to play out. You also have the ETFs, all these dominoes, man, like meticulously placed right at the right time for things to be a cascade of events that push XRP's price to hundreds or thousands of dollars in a very short period of time. And people are going to tell you market cap, that can't happen, blah, 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 blah. It's just math. And they're going to tell you their side's just math. The problem is they don't understand the math. They're using total supply. I'm using available supply, not even circulating supply. I'm looking at the available supply on the market for XRP. There's not much left. It's less than 2 billion XRP available. There's only 13 billion XRP on exchanges. Uphold's got 5 billion of that, and maybe a little bit more than that because of they were the only people that had XRP listed during the lawsuit, and they're partnered with Ripple for ODL, right? So the way that ODL works is Ripple loans XRP to a bank. They send it over to Uphold. Uphold swaps it for whatever currency the bank needs. They send it to the bank. The bank uses it for 7 days. They pay it back with interest. They swap it back to XRP. They send it back to Ripple. There's not actually the use of the XRP to settle right now for ODL. So when they're lending it as a collateral asset. Basically, the value of the XRPs is what's being exchanged. Very similar to a loan from a bank. And now they have Ripple Prime. I don't know if you guys saw that announcement today that Brad also put out, and Ripple and many others. You had a lot of people jump behind that, including Michael Arrington, Ashish, and tons of people over there on Twitter. Ripple Prime is very interesting, very, very interesting. It positions XRP inside the walls of the banks and institutions. It's the Trojan horse with G Treasury, ROUSD, Rail, all the things that Ripple's been working on and acquiring and building the infrastructure for over the past decade, really, is now coming to fruition so that they can use XRP if, in fact, it is a significantly higher price than it is today. It's not going to work at $3. It's not going to work. So they have to have a way to be able to drive liquidity into the asset for it to reach the levels where there's efficiency to be able to use the infrastructure and the systems that they have built out over the past decade. The way they do that is through the ETFs. And it just so happens that the government shutdown has delayed the Clarity Act. So really, if there were a crisis that were to ensue and they needed a digital asset to sit in the middle and settle all of those transactions and provide liquidity in a liquidity crisis, there's only one option here in the US. And it's because of the lawsuit between the SEC and Ripple that XRP was designated not a security. And it's also been designated a currency by FinCEN. So with those two designations here in the US, it's the only thing. Until the Clarity Act is passed, it's the only option. So I know a lot of people want to talk about Solana. R3 partnered with Solana. Cool. Test it out. See if something works to be able to settle between, siloed ecosystems on Corda. The main settlement mechanism is still XRP. And when I don't have my R3 cup in front of me tonight. I got my tea. But we talked to them, and this is outside my NDA, so I can share it. They told us that the only thing that they're going to use is going to be something that's regulated and has enough liquidity here in the US when the time comes. Right now, the only thing that's regulated is XRP and Bitcoin, if you want to count it. But Bitcoin can't settle real time. We all know that there's a lot of gas fees on the network. And then you also have the latency. It's still faster than traditional banking for sure. But 30 or 45 minutes to settle the transaction and be verified by over 3 parties. It's not real time. It's not instant. So there's really only one solution. And I'm pretty confident that there's going to come a liquidity crisis in the very near future where they need a said asset to be able to provide liquidity and instant settlement for the back end of the stock market for them to be able to de-risk from what they've set up with the Bitcoin ETFs, because Bitcoin trades real time, almost. Back into the stock market settles T+1. They moved to that last year on May 28th with the option to settle real time via digital asset. And again, that digital asset is going to have to be regulated, and it's going to have enough liquidity in it to be able to settle the back end of the stock market. $6 trillion a day in volume on the back end of the stock market. Many of you probably know about Swift, $5 trillion a day in volume. They're not going to partner with Ripple. Brad's already stated that Swift, if they adopted Ripple's, well, not even if they adopted Ripple's infrastructure, if they compete, Ripple will get about 14% of Swift's transactions by 2030. It's R3. It's the company sitting in the background that nobody's talking about, that I think Swift is going to partner with and use. And again, primary settlement mechanism there is, guess what? XRP. So, that kind of shuts the door on a lot of the FUD after today. Ripple still advocates for XRP. Their stated mission, if you can watch, there's a video of Brad back in the day where he was talking in Japan, and he stated at the time that their mission statement at Ripple was to make XRP the global reserve asset for settlement, global reserve currency. I don't think that mission ever left. But again, they can't be the ones that cause the price appreciation. There needs to be other parties and other catalysts that move it to the level where they can then use it and use the infrastructure and all of the acquisitions and all the stuff that they've made. So, you don't have to listen to me. Again, I'm just some guy on the internet. It's probably a good time for my disclaimer. Nothing here is financial advice. It's only for entertainment and educational purposes only. Always speak with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. If you need a financial advisor for your crypto, you can work with our firm, Digital Wealth Partners. You can go to digitalwealthpartners.net and you get a consult, and they will actually provide you financial advice on what to buy, what to trade, what to sell, how to hold, protect, and grow your digital assets with the different strategies and options that we have over there for institutional clients. So with that all being said, that's how I want to start tonight off. We got everybody over here on TikTok. We got people here on YouTube. If X will work, we're on X, Facebook, and a couple other platforms as well. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and hop into the questions here tonight. Appreciate you guys taking time out on your Friday to hang out with me. Figured you guys would be going on dates or doing fun stuff, but you're here stuck with me. So we'll go ahead and jump into it. We've got the H family. They say, howdy, sir. What is the option for us smaller bags under 5,000 after price appreciation? We be able to see 10% returns, or what can we expect? So another huge announcement that was made recently was Evernorth. They're doing a SPAC on AACI. A lot of people are anticipating a big move in that stock and buying it now. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. They have injected, I think it's 261 million XRP into the wallet that's going to be used for the SPAC. Arrington Capital, along with SBI, Chris Larson, Uphold, and many others have put a portion of XRP into that company. We'll see what happens at Digital Wealth Partners. Excited for them to, the whole point of that company is a couple things. One, institutional exposure to XRP. There's no ETFs live yet, but there will be. And that's a DAT. So it's a digital asset treasury company. The benefit that you're going to get from a DAT versus an ETF is their ETFs are really restrictive on how they're able to generate returns on the asset. So it needs to be some native staking functionality for the asset where they're able to generate returns and pay a dividend. ETH can do that, right? Bitcoin, not really. There's nothing you can do. XRP right now doesn't have any smart contract functionality on the mainnet. So it's just trading one-to-one to the asset based on the ratio of shares versus the underlying XRP for the ETFs. The DAT is interesting. It can trade above the NAV, or the net asset value. So you're going to look at MNAV, or the multiple of the net asset value. And traditionally, if you've looked at MicroStrategy and some of the other DATs that are out there, they've done both. They've traded below the NAV and they've traded above the NAV. If you do it right and you're aggressively acquiring more XRP or whatever the asset is inside the asset treasury company, then a dollar there is going to be more effective than you buying a dollar's worth of the asset, because they're going to be able to aggregate more faster because they're able to take leverage and loans and do things. And so they'll trade above the NAV on the asset, and they may pay a dividend because you're going to be able to do a lot more things with the assets in a treasury company than you would in an ETF. And that's really the whole premise behind what Ashish and David Schwartz and Michael Arrington want to do, is they want to seed different things on the XRPL to help build out the DeFi infrastructure. So as we get liquidity pools, as the AMMs get spun up, as all these other things need additional, initial capital to get started, they'll be there. They'll be able to seed it. And there'll also be, larger returns for people that are in early on those things, on those liquidity pools, and other things that come to market, here likely in Q1. I think we'll get, sometime here in Q4, they'll propose, XLS 64, 65, and 66, which are pseudo accounts, liquidity pools, and borrow lend. And then we will have native smart contract functionality on the XRPL to be able to get a lot of the stuff that we're doing at Digital Wealth Partners today. We're able to lend against your asset, get you a line of credit. We're able to put your assets to work, very similar to what it would be in a liquidity pool, using what would look like a pseudo account where your assets stay on one side, they're reflected somewhere else. We've really done everything the same way that you would do it inside of a smart contract on the XRPL, without it being inside of a smart contract with institutional custody and our partners. So hopefully at some point we will tokenize our funds. They're at Digital Wealth Partners. And right now we would be orders of magnitude larger than any other liquidity pool or DeFi provider on the XRPL. We have over, where are we at? About $300 million worth of XRP in the funds, generating returns already for people on their XRP. We actually just paid out the last quarterly distribution to people there at Digital Wealth Partners this week. So if you want to learn more about that, you can talk to the financial advisors. I can't talk about a lot of that stuff here publicly. You do need to be accredited if you're going to reach out, and they can run it down for you. But back to this gentleman's question. Smaller bag holders, as the asset appreciates, I don't know who's going to be able to participate in what. This person's asked what funds. The funds at Digital Wealth Partners. If you want to go to digitalwealthpartners.net and use the contact us form, they'll let you know more. It's the only regulated securities offering and way to generate returns on your XRP here domestically in the US. All of the other DeFi protocols are geofencing the US, and you're not supposed to be participating in them. So if you're using Doppler Finance or Axelar or any of that stuff, tisk tisk, the SEC does not want that. I'm cool with it. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I just own the firm. So everybody, I think, should have their own choices. And again, you understand whatever your risk tolerance is and put your money to work where you see fit. So anyway, back to this gentleman's question. 10% is aggressive. I think that we're going to get some yield products on XRP in the near future. 3 to 4% a year, I think, seems very reasonable at no risk. 10%, the funds that we have, we're targeting that with. So far, the quarterly performance does not project that. We're going to be closer to like 6, which I'm okay with, right? Like first year out of the gate, if we pay people more than what they could generate doing anything else, still happy with that. But, over time, we do want to get to somewhere around 10, 12, 13, 15% on those other opportunities. And those very well could do that this year. It just depends on our partners are very irregular in their returns. They could do 20% this last quarter. Just depends on market conditions and everything else that go on. So, so this person's asked, why can't we do 5K? The cost for me and our firm to employ the number of advisors to be able to work with that many people right now, it's not feasible. I don't know if you guys have talked to a financial advisor, but they don't know anything about crypto. And we've got to find people that actually have some understanding about crypto to work with us. Otherwise, it's hard to train them on everything. So one, lack of people and market penetration for the asset class. Two, the fees just don't make sense there, right? And I know, like, at some point, I want to get to a point where we don't have to charge fees to people. Schwab's at that point now. They just charge on their products that they put out. So there's a subscription fee to the products. They actually don't charge you for custody or any of that. But we have to keep the lights on. I have to be able to pay my employees. I have to be able to scale the business in order to be able to provide services for you guys that may not have quite as much as other people. So it's on the roadmap. Don't get me wrong. Like, we want to be able to serve everyone, especially as price appreciation happens. And if you got 5,000 XRP and it goes to $100, you'll be right there at the $500,000. And hopefully we have enough people when that happens to be able to serve everybody. But 10%, if you're getting 10% with the way, things are right now, it's probably more aggressive. The way that we've structured it, there's no counterparty risk. The assets stay in institutional custody. We've mitigated risk of loss on market volatility. And, we had the liquidation event 2 Fridays ago. We lost 0 XRP. Really proud to say on that one. Even the people that had lines of credit out against their XRP, we were able to cover all the margin calls and get them cured up and good to go. So nobody lost XRP on that. If you'd had your assets in a smart contract, done, gone, bye-bye. End of story. But if you're working with our lenders inside institutional custody, there's people, right? And we understand, what's going on. We have empathy for people. We want to make sure that we're doing the best that we can. Again, number one rule at Digital Wealth Partners, don't lose XRP. Second rule, refer to rule number one. So everything we do is to mitigate risk of loss. And sometimes that keeps us from producing as much returns as we could if we were willing to be a little riskier, but I'm not willing to be the risky one. I want to make sure that people don't lose their XRP. And if we generate, returns that are just a little bit less and we can ensure that, that's where I'm at. Don't sell the golden goose. All right. So next question, we got Dad Bod. I like it. He says, what if last year's big pump was the institutional buying of XRP planned for ETFs? Won't then the coming ETFs be another dud and no big green candle? You've said yourself, retail is not going to pump it. Yeah, so if that was the case, Bitcoin also would have sold off and, excuse my French, but shit the bed. If the ETFs and the buying before was all that was going to happen. Before they launched the ETFs, buying started. It hit an all-time high before the halving in 2024, and it continued higher after that because the ETFs were what pushed that along. So now we've got DATs, we've got treasury companies, we've got ETFs, and we've got other catalysts in the market that are going to continue to aggregate XRP. And the supply shock that I'm talking about is real. It is going to happen. There's not going to be enough XRP to be able to support the demand and the buy volume when it ensues. And if you have the exchanges clamoring for XRP because of Tether, you have DATs aggregating XRP, you have ETFs aggregating XRP, you have institutions needing XRP to be able to settle on the back end of payments and infrastructure for the stock market and other stuff. And you have everybody going live all at the same time trying to use the asset because Ripple's pushing them to start doing it, because if they don't, they won't be able to compete with them. Everyone's backed into a corner. Everyone that is an institutional player that deals with payments will have to buy XRP all at the same time. And that is the supply shock that pushes it to $100 or $50, somewhere in there. Higher than that, sure. If other things ensue and other catalysts that I've talked about play out, but I'm really confident in those two prices. Potentially by the end of the year. Nate says, Jake the Viper, what's up, man? To all those saying Jake is AI and flew to Dallas, Texas to give him his dream car, hugs, plus hugs. Same dude on screen as off. Keep living purposeful life. Love you and the team. Beyond broke, Carbon One for life. Awesome, dude. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I have all my fingers. I'm not AI, and I don't know how else to be. I don't try to be anybody else in person or on here. I guess other people do that, but it's just me. And that was cool, man. Thank you so much for, the 1997 Viper. It was the blue and the white racing stripes. That was really cool. And the card too. I read the card and I really appreciate the sentiments and the kind words. And again, thank you for all the support and being part of the Mastermind. We have a Mastermind event Sunday here not here, but in San Francisco. So if you're part of the Mastermind and you're on the West Coast, please come. We got like 250 people registered for that. We do more in real life events than any other community in crypto. Maybe Crypto Mondays probably beats us out. But at this point, I'm pretty confident that we're ahead of Bored Ape Yacht Club and the people over there too. So yeah, if you want to be part of the Mastermind, you want to see what it's all about. A lot of the communications through Discord. I know it's a little cumbersome. So if you want to try it and you don't like it for whatever reason, it's month to month. Cancel at any time. But we have over 8,500 members there in the community. They're all aligned, like-minded individuals that have a significant interest in crypto and want to learn more about business resources and financial education, long-term estate planning, insurance, We bring in a lot of specialists and people with significant expertise in a lot of areas to talk about different types of investments, private investments there in the group. We have an asset recovery team. So if you lose your assets and you're part of the mastermind, you can work with them to get your assets back. Nobody else is providing that. That's paid for you if you're carbon 1 or higher. Anyway, so you just go to beyondbroke.com. It's right up here at the top, right there, and use the code right over here. Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2 there in the mastermind. Carbon 1, I think, is where it's at, but a lot of people do, social. It's $25. Not everybody can afford $100 a month over the long term. Completely respect that, and that's why we have that lower ticket there. You still get all of the lives. You get most of the channels in the Discord. You get the in real life events. You just don't get some of the other additional benefits that we provide to Carbon 1 and higher. Carbon 2 is a bit more advanced. So if he's just rambling. Yeah, I do that, unfortunately. Carbon 2 is for more advanced estate planning, people that are further along in all of that, and or own large businesses and want some additional benefit and other good people to network with. We got Todd, my man. He says, legend. What's up, dude? Will the announcement of Evernorth cause price suppression till Q1? I know they will be buying off exchanges, so why would they allow 3 digits then? The SPAC is going to take them a little bit longer. It is going to be Q1 before the SPAC happens and they go public. We're going to have the ETFs and a bunch of other stuff going at that point. And it's going to be a lot easier for them to accumulate XRP if there's not that much left, if it is a much higher price, especially through OTC deals and a lot of people in retail and other large holders that are willing to sell over the counter when they're looking to buy. And if they're able to raise billions of dollars, they really don't care what the price is. Look at MicroStrategy. They're still buying Bitcoin at $100,000 a piece. DAT companies operate on a completely different level than retail. Okay, so I know a lot of people are like, well, they should scoop it all up today. There's a plan. Believe me, there's a plan. You want sustained pressure, buying pressure, to be able to hold the price high. And you also want transactions moving over the network. You need to be able to put that XRP to work somewhere to be able to, benefit the people using the protocol. And that's part of Evernorth's thesis too. Like I said, they're going to be seeding liquidity pools and other DeFi applications on the XRPL for settlement and building out a lot of that infrastructure. So DATs, again, all the DATs today are acquiring assets that are at least 3 digits. And they don't care. They're continuing to borrow through the nose using, whatever means they can to leverage themselves up and continue to aggregate the assets. I'm with you, though. It would make sense if they would do it sooner. We got Mr. Affiliated. He says, legend. What's up, man? So Satoshi's on Epstein's list, lost his wallet on Epstein's Island. The reason it's dormant. Can any Bitcoin maxi prove me wrong? I don't think so. There's not just one Satoshi wallet. I actually learned this the other day when I was looking it up because I wanted to see there's 1.096 million Bitcoin that was mined by Satoshi, and it's across a lot of wallets, like 2,400 wallets. It's a lot of wallets. So they would all need to move. I don't know who has access to those wallets. I think Arthur Brito wallets. And once we start here, I'm going to go ahead, write it down, Jake's prediction. You're going to see Satoshi's Bitcoin move. And I think they will swap it for XRP. And when that happens, people are going to lose their minds. It's been sat dormant all this time, just waiting, aggregating value. Satoshi is like something, it's $100 billion or something crazy, like top 10 richest people in the world. If it was one person, mark my words, that Bitcoin is going to move, and I think it's going to be used to funnel into XRP. DWP Mike, he says, or DFW, DWP, that's my company. DFW is where I live. Evening, boss man. What's up, dude? Hope all is well. If Sophia and I wish to give some XRP or cash to some family members, what would be the best way to go about it? Put it in our trust or a fund to pay returns, or something else? The best way to do a gift to a family member would be to use your wallet that you own through your LLC or your trust, or however you own it, maybe personally, and send that to other cold wallets. You can gift up to, I think it's $19,000 per year without filing a 709 and reporting that under your gift taxes, or against your lifetime gift tax threshold. So that's the way I would do it. I would do less than $19,000 worth of XRP at the time that you send it over there. And I would just send it to their own wallet, cold wallet that you bought for them, and then give it to them as the gift. That would be the correct way to do that. Now, if you wanted to put that to work, you could set up smaller companies, and my compliance team's gonna shoot me. You could set up LLCs and gift it to those other LLCs underneath your account at Digital Wealth Partners. And then over time, they would be able to participate in the different yield products and solutions we're going to bring to market. Don't do that today. Wait till price moves up. Maybe move it to the cold wallets first and then do that. Like I said, my compliance team and my team is going to shoot me for that one. But that would be the way you would do it. Travis, he says, would you agree technical analysis and cycles are no longer relevant when it comes to institutional adoption of utility-based cryptos? Also, just join the Discord. Awesome, dude. Glad to have you in the mastermind. Again, if you want to join the mastermind, just go to beyondbroke.com. Use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2 there in the Discord and the mastermind. I don't think they're irrelevant. I think blockchain background, a lot of people are very intelligent. They're able to look at previous market cycles and overlay those fractals and come to some determinations. I just think they're using the wrong charts. I think they need to be using logarithmic charts and not linear charts. If you look at Bitcoin, you can see that it operates on, a ever regressing curve, and so do the other cryptos. And that's what I think the cycles are. And the move in XRP, if we saw another, 37,000% move, would put it at a pretty significant price, just like it did back in 2017 and 2018. So I think we're going to get another aggressive move like that. Could it be even larger? Sure, with utility-driven stuff and other market dynamics that didn't exist back then. But the same thing that caused that price move, which was a supply shock, would be present today. It would just be at a greater magnitude or larger amount than what it was back then. The reason that the price moved back in 2017 was Ripple locked up half of the supply. They created the escrow. And so that's when we saw the price start to move, and a lot of the price appreciation, and then FOMO ensued, and retail drove it up to $3.84 because there wasn't as much XRP on the market back then. And Southeast Asia loves XRP. So I wouldn't say that they're not relevant. I just think they're using the wrong charts. And I don't think they're anticipating the same scale of logarithmic move that we saw back then, because over time, Bitcoin's been protracted. Again, like the returns of regression to the mean has been greater and greater. And that's come with more Bitcoin being on the market. It's less volatile, literally, than it was early on as a percentage move when you look at it. And that's what the logarithmic scale is. It's a percentage move versus, a numeric movement. So I don't think that it's useless, and I don't think that it's going to stop operating on cycles. I do think that there are other market dynamics that will exacerbate some things this go around versus previous ones. But I do think TA could be relevant, just using the right charts. Nick G, what's up, man? He says, Jake, I'm a huge fan. Awesome, dude. Glad to see you here tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your Friday to hang out with me. You could be doing a lot of other things, and you're hanging out here with me on YouTube and TikTok and X and Facebook. This one's on YouTube, though. He says, if ETF approvals are now delayed until late November, December due to the government shutdown, could the price appreciation we're all hoping for, 3 digits, still materialize before 2026. So the longest government shutdown to date, I think, was like 32 days. The one before that's like been 26 days. We're not anywhere close to that yet. So I'm expecting the government to come back either up here at next week in October or the week after in November. And at that point, we'll have whatever the SEC is going to propose as the regulated way for all of the ETFs to come straight to market. They'll put that out, and then we'll see everybody ram their ETF through all at the same time. And again, if that just happens to coincide with, the reverse carry trade unwinding and everybody else losing their minds, sure would be interesting. I put that out today when they, finalized that transaction with Hidden Road. Timing is impeccable of everything kind of culminating here at the end of 2025 for a lot of my predictions that I've made, months ago and made bets about, and people continually tell me that I'm crazy and I should back down and all this stuff. Not backing down, still crazy, still believe all of it. So, if you don't like me because of it, that's okay. I'm probably not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm going to stand firm in my predictions that we see 3 to 4 digits here in 2025. And again, not financial advice. I have to say that my attorneys tell me. And if you need financial advice, you can go to Digital Wealth Partners, and they can tell you to buy XRP. I just can't tell you to do that. Nick 4501 says, "G'day, Jake. Legend Goat. What's up, my man? Russian sanctions causing price of oil to rise. Is this the spike we need? Venezuela as well. News on ETFs. Thanks for all your humble support and the tea lady managing you." Yes, unfortunately, shout out to the tea lady. She was very sick today. So if she didn't get back to your comments and DMs on social media, cut her some grace. We're not all healthy all the time. So, shout out to my wife. She is wonderful, and she does a lot of hard work every single day to make sure we get back to people on a regular basis. And she's not here to bring me tea tonight because I'm away from the house, but love her and appreciate her. So back to the oil. This isn't it. It's not what we need. It's close. It's close. We're going the right direction now. I think oil has bottomed. We're still looking. We need a major trade route shutdown. That's the only way that this is actually going to move quick enough to drive a percentage move over there in oil in Japan that causes them to aggressively raise interest rates. And I'm going to continue to go back to the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. Okay, maybe it's Russia. It could be something else. I get that from Jim Rickards. Okay, I don't know if you guys know who Jim is or not. Brilliant man. He's an economist. He's talked to the Fed and the White House and Congress and been a strategic advisor for the U.S. government for decades. He's the one that said that. He's the one that brought that to them more than a decade ago on how this could play out and exactly what would happen. I heard it from him. That's how I got the thesis that I put together. I take bits and pieces from people that are much smarter than me, and I weave a tapestry of what I think is going to happen based on logical conclusions. That, him stating that and him bringing that to the U.S. government, if they wanted to cause this strategically at a time that they planned, that would be the way to do it. So I know there's lots of people that are like, it's not ever going to happen, and . Nobody thought the world was going to shut down in 2020. Guess what happened? Powers that be decided that was what was going to happen. So if they decide oil is going to spike, they're going to do whatever they need to do to make that happen. And if that's the time, that's the time. And I think it might be close to the fat lady singing here in 2025, with all the things that are being put in place, all the dominoes that are now stood up, line up perfectly for the adoption of this asset class and the rollout of a new financial system to be able to repaper the debt. You heard Trump say it the other day that we could use crypto to pay off the debt here in the U.S. So I'm going to get into that for a little bit, Because I know people have a hard time with that. There was some guy that was like, well, you'd have to sell all the crypto to do that. If you were around in 1930, which most of us weren't, they confiscated gold from the U.S. public, right? If you had family heirlooms and certain things, they weren't able to take it. But if you had bullion, they took it. And that was at $20 an ounce. And they paid people $20, 20 US dollars for every ounce of gold. 6 months later, they revalued that gold to $35 an ounce on the government's balance sheet. Well, they didn't sell the gold to pay off the debt. You have assets, you have liabilities. If your liabilities are way up here, you need your assets to rise to match that debt. What would happen if the US government just happened to have a bunch of XRP on their balance sheet? That hasn't ever been audited. David Sachs said so. They don't know publicly what the government holds for crypto. The only thing we know for sure is they had, the Bitcoin that they've potentially sold now. We'll see. So that would be a great way. And they don't even have to revalue it this time. There's a lot of people out there like, they'll revalue this and that. They don't even have to do that. They can use market dynamics. They can orchestrate catalysts. They can do what they need to cause this domino transaction to take place to drive XRP's price to thousands of dollars. And if they had enough of it on their balance sheet at thousands of dollars, it would go from 250, call it 250 to 2,000 bucks. 700 times their money. If they had enough of it, that would be enough of the assets to be able to offset most of the debt. And that's how that would work. They wouldn't pay it off. They just have enough assets to be able to offset the amount of liabilities they have. And then they can borrow against that to cover the debt. And then they can loan the money themselves. This is the whole game we play at Digital Wealth Partners, right? Like you can be your own bank. Governments are their own bank. The US government has been able to print themselves out of every recession up to this point because they've been the global reserve currency. They're not going to have that luxury on the other side of this transition. They know that. So if you knew that was going to be the case, you might set up a company, maybe BlackRock and some other companies, to ensure that you were still going to be the global leader in this transition, and you would disrupt or disintermediate yourself and orchestrate it the right way so that you still had an edge versus the other countries globally. It's a lot bigger game than what I think a lot of people think is going on here. We got Off the Grid Hero, my man. He says, advice with family after price appreciation. Life will look different and they might question. I would think you would give some money just to not envy. You can do whatever you want. You need to set boundaries early. Okay. If you give people an inch, they'll take a mile, even if it's family, and they will expect that of you. I'm not saying don't help people. I would rather teach people to fish than give them the fish. And that may be hard to do, right? Hopefully, you've told them about this investment or some other things that they might look at and learn about. That's all I'm doing for other people. Okay. There will be charity. I have a philanthropic interest. We will make donations. We will have an abundance of stuff. Everybody here that is invested in XRP will have more than enough to give to other people. And you should, do that in your community and help people. Okay. I talked to a guy today, he's younger. He's 25 years old, crushing it. Dude's making $500,000 a year. He's got plenty of XRP. I was like, dude, fantastic. He wants to pay off his parents' house. He wants to pay off their cars. He wants to pay off his sister's medical college debt. Do all that, right? Take care of people that are your people. But set boundaries early. Say, this is what I'm doing for you. If you need more money or you want other stuff, there's going to be other circumstances that come along with that. And that's not to be greedy or, some type of way like you control the situation. If you don't set boundaries with people, they're going to take advantage of you. There are many athletes, you can look at them, that make millions of dollars a year, that take care of mom and their family and their buddies, and they go and blow and pop bottles and do all the stuff, and then they run out of money later because they didn't manage it well. So just be leery of that. I'm not saying don't help other people or help your family. We work with people to set these boundaries. We set up, a mission statement, core values, principles, governance, and ethics documents. So just some rules. So I'm just going to give you like stuff for my family. I'm a fund and insurance policy for my kids, and they'll have $1 million that they can borrow against when they're 25. That's your line of credit. If you want more than that, there's other rules that you got to play by. Okay. We'll pay for any education, but you're going to go to 3 different events each year that I stipulate you got to go to. If you want to be the best underwater basket weaver the world's ever seen, awesome. You're going to know how to sell those underwater baskets. You're going to have some other skills alongside of that. If they do want a loan from the family, they're going to have to present it to the investment committee, and they're going to have to come with 20% down. So if it's an apartment complex, if it is a business, we're only lending against hard assets also. So if they want a house, cool. You got to come with 20% down. We'll finance the rest of it. It needs to be an asset also. It needs to cash flow in some way. There has to be a business plan. It can't just be some willy-nilly fly-by-night startup, venture fund, Nope, hard assets. Now, if they want to start their own business, they got $1 million line of credit against their insurance policy. You talk about Trump. Trump says, I had a small loan for my dad that was $1 million. I wish I had a small loan for my dad that was $1 million. I could have done a lot with that. But that's the deal, right? Like you give them something that they can stand on and move. But if they want more than that, there's additional rules and things that have to come along with it. Because this is the thing that I don't think people understand yet. This is not your money. It is your money. You made the money. You made the investment. The way that you preserve this and create generational wealth and maintain it over generations is it's not your money. It's your kids' money. It's your grandkids' money. It's your grandkids' money. Okay. You are a steward of that capital. And if you were a bank, if you were a financial institution, if you were a fiduciary, you would operate in a certain way. You would have a much lower risk tolerance. You would not be doling out money to everybody for no reason. There would be hard collateral that you had to be able to recapture, that value if something goes poorly, right? And again, people are going to look at you a certain way and want to knock that and say, you owe me, I'm entitled, They're not. You made these investments. You told them about how they could make the investments. They chose not to. And things come along with that because you want to protect this. You want to make sure that the next generation, the next 3, 4, 5 generations have a leg up. They have opportunities that you didn't have growing up. And you have a chance to do that with these investments. So, family is going to show up. People are going to show up with their hands out. What I've said before is you need a financial committee. You need a family board. When people show up with their hand out, you say, it's awesome. I would love to do that. All you got to do is put together a pro forma and a business plan, and you can present it to our financial committee, and then we'll vote on it. And if it meets our specifications, we would love to invest or give you the money. What are they going to say to that? Most of them aren't. They'll just back down. No, badmouth you, and then it'll be done. Some of them are actually going to have a good business idea, and they're worth funding. But that's also going to challenge them to give you reasoning and justification for giving them the money, and a way, as some type of recourse to be able to get it back if there's problems, right? Again, if you're a bank, if you're a fiduciary, if you're a steward of this capital, That's how you should be operating. And hopefully other people will respect that. You're gonna piss some people off. You're gonna lose some family. You're gonna lose some friends. Every time you move up in the world, or I wouldn't even say move up in the world. Every time you change, better for better or for worse, you're going to lose people around you. Family is blood, and I'm not saying, again, not to take care of those people, but your spouse, you get to pick. Everybody else you're just kind of stuck with. There's a reason a lot of wealthy people don't have close family relationships. We do want to foster that, though, because again, family office is all about that. You want annual meetings with your family. You want a family board. Maybe that's the way they're able to participate is, you're able to pay them a salary for being on the family board, and they make contributions to the family business. And that's how they can earn that money, right? Through their time involved. But it's not just you dole it out to them. So be creative with it. I'm trying to spitball here and give you some things that I've thought through and some of the families that I've seen and other stuff that we work with people on. But hopefully that's helpful. We got Eamon, probably butchered that, Mr. Shields. They say, you're a legend, Jake. Thank you, man. I appreciate the kind words. Still weird hearing that. I love your unwavering conviction. What's your latest end of year Q1 2026 price prediction? I'm going to go with still 3 or 4 digits is possible this year. I'm highly confident in at least $100 XRP by the end of the year. If I lose my bet to scams and it goes to $100, I don't think people are going to be mad at me. 4 digits may take a little longer, but I'm pretty confident in at least a $1,500 XRP by the end of Q1 next year. Really confident in that one. Now, could that happen here this year? Sure. Again, certain catalysts play out. We could see it. But by the end of Q1 next year, I'm really confident in the $1,500 XRP. Really confident in $100 XRP this year in 2025. We've got Off the Grid Hero again. He says, every day life look like 10 years poor versus $10 million. That's how it is, man. Anybody that's built anything substantial has gone through a period of suffering. It is a rite of passage to be able to garner large amounts of wealth or create value at scale. You're going to have to suffer for an extended period of time. And you're going to have to do without, and you're going to have to trade things for a season of your life to be able to benefit for the rest of your life. Whether that's investing in XRP or building a business or whatever you're doing, that's the trade you have to be willing to make. And you have to also be willing to make that trade without any guarantees that it's going to work out. But no risk, no reward, right? No risk, no story. So I think you guys are in the right place at the right time with the right asset, the right investment, the right conviction, the right beliefs. And I think you're going to be very well rewarded for it in the not too distant future. Everything's lined up here. We got Live Life Love. Love that name. Mentality. They say, I'm no terrorist whatsoever, but I have a small criminal record. Turn my life around. Will it affect my KYB application to DWP? As long as you didn't commit fraud, probably okay. If you've defrauded other people, we'll have to look at it. I'm not saying no, but there'll be some extra scrutiny and stuff on it. Could be, a politically exposed person. So, KYB, a lot of people don't necessarily understand that. So KYC, KYB, they look at the sanctions list. They look at OFAC, AML, anti-money laundering. If you've committed financial crimes, it's going to be hard for you to get a bank account, other stuff set up places just to circumvent your ability to do that anymore. If it's been a while, change your heart. People do change. People change. People learn, and people grow and progress. I know a lot of people that made poor choices earlier in life that are great people. And they learn from that, and they have a lot of wisdom that they're able to share from those things. So, I think people can turn over a new leaf. But regulations are regulations. Things are pretty stringent for the way that we do things. So I don't know what you did. And that'll be up to our compliance team, not up to me on what happens there, my man. But I would love to work with you if it all works out. We've got, I'm XRP'd. They say, hey, Jake, in the past, you've stated that when the reverse carry trade unwinds, that XRP will be needed in settlement to the back end of the stock market. Are you referring to the CME? If not, can you explain further? You're appreciated. Thank you for the super chat, my man. So it's actually the DTCC. They are the depository clearing and trust. And DTCC. They're what settles all the stuff at the back end of the stock market, the DTCC, and it's a public company. It's a public good. They don't make any money at the DTCC. They do everything at cost to be able to settle the back end of the stock market. The CME is futures. It's a futures market, and they do some other stuff for real-time price on things also. So no, it's not the CME at all. It is the DTCC. And what they will be doing to be able to settle real time using a digital asset. And again, if you want to go look it up, May 28th last year, they moved to T+1 for the settlement at the DTCC with the option to settle real time via digital asset if there's enough liquidity and it is legal. Crypto M, he says, El Jefe. Good to see you, brother. So there are a lot of banks and exchanges performing maintenance this weekend. I noticed that. And next week. Is that more than coincidence? Thank you and safe travels. Appreciate you on the safe travels, my man. We'll see. Sure is convenient timing for everything to be happening the way that it is. Y'all know I like look at the riddles and stuff again. And if you're here, there's some other stuff with XRP that's like icing on the cake for me. Outside of conversations, a lot of stuff that I've been privy to and done. One of those accounts, which I won't mention it this time, but I think it's Arthur Brito, has pointed to 1026 in a couple of different tweets. So that's Sunday. I don't know. Maybe a nothing burger. We'll have to see what ends up shaking out. Watching for the reverse carry trade, watching for oil. You could have something happen over a weekend. You could have Bitcoin tank over a weekend and have huge unrealized losses on Monday. The last time the reverse carry trade started to unwind last year in August, when it was 13% down in the S&P in one day, it started in Japan. The Nikkei sold off huge. It was like 17% down. So, Sunday evening, we take a gander. We're going to watch oil. I do this every Sunday because I want to see what's going on. But I'm going to watch WTI crude versus the yen. I don't care what happens in dollars. It's got to be in yen. It's got to affect Japan substantially. And we'll watch the 10-year yield in Japan. If they come out and have to aggressively raise interest rates, we know that poop's going to hit the fan on Monday. Next week, they already have the FOMC meeting. They have the Bank of Japan looking to raise interest rates anyway. Neither one of them want to be the catalyst for this. Neither one of them want to be pointed to as you caused this to happen. They need an outside scapegoat that they can point to and say, well, we had to because of ... It's CYA, right? So see what happens. I don't know. It could be Chinese calendar. It could be Hebrew calendar. It could be a bunch of different stuff. You never know with all those riddles and things. But we'll see what shakes out here in October. There was also the David Schwartz tweet where he said, if it's Halloween, why does it feel like Christmas? Back in 2022. So if people knew and they wanted to put some things out there to give you some hints, sure would be nice. And if I were David, if I were some of the other people that knew, I'd want to help people out, but I'd have to do it in a way that didn't violate my NDAs. Which, I guess I kind of do that now. Man, you guys on the chat, thank you so much for the engagement, taking time out of your evening to hang out with me. This person over here has asked about the LLCs, so I'll touch on that for a second. To work with digital wealth partners, you do need your assets in a corporation. So that could be international, it could be a limited company, it could be a trust outside the US, it could be an offshore trust, it could be a domestic trust, doesn't matter. As long as your assets are inside of a corporation or inside of an entity, a trust, LLC, whatever it is. Also, we can do IRAs. Then we can work with you at Digital Wealth Partners and custody your assets. You want to do it in a jurisdiction where you have anonymity and creditor protection and a lot of those benefits, and that's why we do stuff in Wyoming. So if you want that done, again, you don't have to work with us. I just want you, please set yourself up before price appreciation. Please season in a bank account. Please get some things in place to be able to take profits in a meaningful way and not get them flagged or reported, frozen by the bank, moving it to your personal account. Business account, you're having much better odds of not having issues. So do that now, ideally. If you have less than $50,000 to $80,000 worth of portfolio value in crypto, don't worry about it. You don't need it yet. You'll have plenty of time post price appreciation. It's mainly going to be people that already have that much, and we see 100x or 50x. You're going to want those things in place. So if you want to work with us to do it, again, don't have to. You can go work with an attorney in Wyoming. We can recommend an attorney in Wyoming if you want to go that route. But we do everything end to end and maintain the corporate veil and everything else you need for $2,000 if you use the code 50OFF 50OFFDAG LLC at digitalfamilyoffice.io. The code again is 50OFFDAG LLC. So, again, the reason we do Wyoming is you get creditor protection, you get anonymity, best regulation in the US around crypto and those assets. And I don't think there's a better spot. There's lots of good spots offshore, Cayman, Bermuda, Cook Islands, Luxembourg, in the UAE. We had a meeting with our counterparts over there in Dubai this morning, going over different things. We can also do Portugal or Cyprus. And if you need those contacts, all you got to do is email us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and we'll pass you, the contacts that are best suited for you and where you want to go. And I would look at where you're going to move post price appreciation and set stuff up there. This gentleman says, hey, Jake, do you think the housing market will crash at the reverse carry trade? I think all asset classes are going to get repriced at about 50 to 60% of their current value. Stock market is overvalued. It's the highest PE ratio that it's been ever. I think actually PE ratio is like the 24. It's the valuations of the companies versus their income that it's the highest it's ever been. So people are piling in to risk on to be able to get out of the dollar because they're seeing their money just evaporate. The value in the dollars continue to evaporate. That's why you've seen gold move exponentially here. We hit $4,400 per ounce, pulled back some now. I think that's going to be the top for gold. Would love to be wrong. I want people to make a bunch of money. I think it's the top for gold. I think we're going to see a big pullback in gold somewhere between 2,000 and 2,100. Could it move higher after that? Absolutely. Will it get repriced after that? Definitely could. But when the reverse carry trade happens, there's going to be liquidity sucked out of everywhere. Housing, stocks, gold, crypto, not going to matter where your money is. They're going to suck that liquidity out of all of those markets and race back to pay those loans in Japan. Tens of trillions of dollars have been borrowed from the Bank of Japan over the past 20 years and put to work all over the world in different markets. So just know that that's coming. The only thing that I think is going to do exceptionally well when that happens And the only hedge that I'm aware of, aside from oil maybe, because I think oil is going to spike, is XRP. And that's why I don't own anything else. Again, I'm just a guy here on the internet. So don't believe me. Go do your own research, make your own decisions. You're grown people. This is not financial advice. We got Mark M. He says, Jake, I had a question about when spot ETFs go live. I saw Paul Barron say they won't be purchased off of an exchange, only OTC. Does that matter? And will that affect the price going higher? So OTC and dark pools do not affect the public price of assets. Where Paul may be mistaken is when there's not enough liquidity in the OTC market or the dark pools, they have to go to the public exchanges. You've seen this with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's price just stayed where it was at $30,000 and didn't rise, I would be with Paul, right? Like, oh, there's enough backroom deals and enough liquidity. It didn't affect the public price, but it did. It absolutely did affect the public price of the asset. And it's why we've seen maintained price levels over $100,000 per Bitcoin. All the Bitcoin that's being mined every single day is being bought, and more is being sold on the market to be able to meet demand. Same thing will have to happen for XRP, except XRP is pre-mined. All that's going to exist already exists, and there's less and less of it every single day. So the only way they're going to be getting that, if the buy volume and demand is as high as I know it's going to be, is they will liquidate all the OTC desks. They won't have liquidity. Dark pools will dry up. The only place they'll be able to buy is through traditional exchanges and retail. And there's going to be plenty of retail out there that cash in, sell their XRP, especially if we get the ruling or the legislation passed here in the US that certain digital assets don't have any capital gains. It'll be cheaper to sell. I think they're going to do that. I think they're going to do it on purpose. They need the XRP more than you do. And they're going to incentivize people to sell it. And if borrowing against it costs you more in the short term because of interest than selling it, many people are going to make that choice. I would challenge you to look at that from a cost to benefit ratio over the long term versus short term. If you knew the asset was going to continue to appreciate and the interest or the amount that it was going to appreciate outpaced the amount that you're borrowing against, and this is the way that people use infinite banking now, then it's actually a loss if you sell it. So even though you're going to be paying interest on loans against the asset, you would be better off over the long term because it's going to appreciate at a greater interest rate or a higher percentage than the loans you're paying off. So we've already orchestrated all that. We've built everything at Digital Wealth Partners to be able to borrow against your XRP. We've done $20 or $25 million in loans against XRP already. And again, none of those people got liquidated, even during the crash that happened, because of our partners and the good connections that we have. And we've already got that in place. So people have access to that now. Interest rates aren't great. 13 to 15% on the XRP. LTV is like 45% to 50% on XRP. Pretty confident though, once it's a tier 1 asset and 4 digits, that interest rate is going to come way down from where it is right now. And we've already got some partnerships in the works to be able to do that. So buckle up. Or what did Brad say? Lock in. Susie, she says, thank you, Jake, for making it possible for us to keep our XRP. I have an LLC and a trust in process at Digital Wealth Partners. My account, Arch account, and will totally be locked in with you. Gosh, it sounds so excited. My boyfriend is with you too. Oh, best friend, not boyfriend, is with you too, and she's super excited. Awesome, Susie. Thank you so much for wanting to work with us and being a good client and all the support. None of this is possible without you guys. Like none of it. We would not be in a position to be able to offer these services at scale and work with great people if you guys didn't want to work with us. So I just want to say thank you to all of our clients and all of our employees that work their asses off to make sure that we're providing good service. And we drop the ball every once in a while. We're not perfect. We're doing the best that we can with what we've got, and we're always working to get better. We want feedback from people if there's oversight or misses on our side. We want that feedback so that we can get better and make sure that we're providing the best service for our clients. We are booked out for consults for months in advance at this point. Again, bringing on more advisors and more people to be able to accommodate people faster. The amount of demand, again, that you guys have for what we've put together is fantastic. And again, we just want to say thank you so much. I feel so blessed and grateful for all of our great clients like Susie and her best friend. It's surreal. Thank you all. Let's see here. Scrolling on down. We'll take one from TikTok over here. This person says, you need help. Sometimes I do need help. Sometimes mentally I need help. Stella, is it interesting? Stella? I don't know. Butchering it one way or the other. You're a self-proclaimed XRP maxi. If XRP were to go down to zero, would you have to file bankruptcy? XRP, Ripple and XRP are distinct. What if it's a scam? I wish I could impart upon you the experiences and conversations that I've had. I can't. I have some NDAs in place. So I have very founded conviction that none of that's going to happen. If XRP went to zero, everything's zero in crypto. Like Tether's imploded. We've got a lot bigger problems if XRP's at zero. Would we have to file bankruptcy? No, we wouldn't have to file bankruptcy. We're well capitalized, but again, all of my assets personally outside the company and the equities that I own is in XRP. But we have a house and vehicles and other stuff to live and be able to produce income and do other things with. So it's not like I'm levered up or have a bunch of loans and it's all predicated on XRP going to the moon. It would suck. But again, that's not a possibility because I know it's not. So there's just a lot of and again, I'm not an XRP maxi. I think, okay, fine. That's a fair statement to make. But two things. One, I'm actually super risk averse. You wouldn't think that. I've made some strategic bets in my life that have put me in a position to take more strategic bets. I actually am very risk adverse. And that's the reason I don't own anything else besides XRP, because that's the only thing I'm absolutely certain of. And second, the price appreciation that's going to happen on this deal is the reason I'm invested in it is for ROI. Okay. Bitcoin's great. If you're already rich, cool, buy some Bitcoin. If you're trying to make money, you're investing in things to grow your wealth. So two very different things here. And I want to touch on this. Making money or creating your wealth and maintaining your wealth are two very different skill sets. Growing wealth requires significant risk on a few bets. And likely you're going to be siloed for an extended period of time, rolling all of your energy, capital, effort back into the same thing over and over again until it pans out and makes you a bunch of money. This happens in business or an investment, whatever it might be. On the other side of price appreciation for your business, your exit, your liquidity event, whatever it is, you want to diversify. You want uncorrelated assets that are all asymmetric bets across multiple industries. And that's a lot of what we're creating at Digital Wealth Partners is different strategies that are market neutral strategies that use different mechanisms and are across multiple asset classes to be able to diversify that liquidity, to be able to maintain that over extended periods of times with market volatility. And I do think that markets won't be anywhere near as volatile over the coming decades. I think that AI and a lot of other things are going to move in, and a lot of the alpha that's generated by emotional decisions made by people, they're going to regress to the mean significantly. So automated market makers and a lot of things are going to cause that to happen. So anyway, I'm here for ROI. If you could show me something else that's going to generate the same type of ROI as XRP, I'm in it like Bennett. I like Hash. I like HBAR. Those are the only other two assets that I currently see that I think are going to have over the next 5 years the same type of exponential move that XRP is going to have in a shorter period of time. So post price appreciation, you're going to see me come on here and I'm going to be talking about those things, because XRP will be a foregone conclusion at that point. Be done. Everybody, that fudded it will have crawled back in their hole and not be talking about it anymore. And then I'll come out and talk about the next thing, and they'll come out and say I'm crazy again, and we're just going to keep winning. Is that what Trump says? Too much winning. So, if it's not one thing, it's another. But I'm not here. I'm not going to continue to be a zealot for XRP post price appreciation. There's going to be a lot of other things that we get into. Well, we're looking at a space company right now. I won't talk about that here publicly, but it's pretty cool. If you're in the mastermind, you know what it is. We've looked at quantum security companies. We looked at resonant frequency off of Wi-Fi. We look at other fintech companies. Water. I had a conversation today about water rights, which was really compelling. Data centers is another big one over the next couple of decades here. You've got to be able to support the infrastructure for AI and blockchain and all the other stuff that's going to be online. You need infrastructure for that. So infrastructure plays and a bunch of other stuff. And I'll, again, this is what I toot my horn on today. But as time goes on, there'll be a lot of other things that we talk about here on the channel and in the mastermind that, it'll be a lot less here publicly, a lot more in the mastermind. So again, if you want the insider stuff, if you want, to be on the front end of a lot of the things we'd talk about, I would go ahead and join that community. We are going to shut it down on the other side of a $10 XRP. There will be no more people coming into the mastermind. It'll be invite only at that point, and it will be much more scrutinized to be able to get in there. And the price point will be substantially higher than what it is today. So if you want to get in now, if you want to make sure that you're set up and you have your seat at the table, just go to beyondbroke.com, use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2. And you're going to be locked in at the prices today if you're in there now too. Post price appreciation, cutting it off. We've got 8,500 people in there, which is a lot more than I had anticipated joining the community. And we'll probably, limit at some point the total amount of people that we even have. So if it sounds cool to you and you want all the insider stuff and you want to be able to get in on early stage investments and, uncorrelated asset classes and other asymmetric bets post price appreciation, I can tell you the mastermind is exactly where all that's going to be happening. Scrolling on down. I'm not going to get to all the super chats tonight. I can just tell you, but I'm going to do my best. We only got about an hour left here. KK Pond, my man. He says, sup, Jake. Sup, dude. Can you explain how yield interacts with the AUM fees? For example, at 5 million, 7.5 million, 10 million plus, what would the yield and AUM fees and approximate LLC payout look like? My compliance team is going to be mad at me. Can't give you financial advice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about my stuff. Okay. You make your own decisions. I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to be looking at doing. So if we had a yield product that paid 3 or 4%, like I think we're going to, I would probably allocate somewhere between 30 and 50% of my assets toward that. Very safe, stable returns. And if I did 50% of my assets toward that at a 2% cost, to be able to, hold the assets there, and it made 4% a year, I know that my AUM fees are always covered. If I just took 50%, put it toward that, it's going to make 4%. That'd be 2% of my total portfolio. I'm good. Okay. The other 50% I would be more aggressive with. And as your assets appreciate, like you mentioned here, the AUM fees come down. So Digital Wealth Partners, if you have more than 5 million, it drops to 50 basis points. If you have more than 10 million, it drops to 40 basis points. So my wife actually pinged me. She was like, you need to make a video on basis points. So here it is. What is a basis point? A basis point is a percentage of a percentage. When the Fed raises, 25 basis points, it's 0.25%. So if we have AUM fees that are 50 basis points, it's 0.5 of 1%. And that's how you would calculate basis points or AUM fees, or anybody else that's talking about basis points. It's a percentage of a percentage. There's 100 basis points in 1%. So now that we have that out of the way, you'll be making a lot of money. Is really the answer. If you've got $5.5, $10 million with us in portfolio value, and we're paying you 4%, 3 or 4% on risk-free yield, if it's over 10 million, that's 40 basis points. And if we're making you 4%, you're literally making 4 times the amount you're paying us in fees. So we would get 1/10 of that return, and that would cover all of your fees for the whole year. So, and that's why I've set it up, because I think these prices are going to get much, much higher. And I've tried to stack things in a way that as prices appreciate, people's costs go way down. And we always want to be providing more value than we're taking. Right now, that's hard. We have the funds and stuff set up for accredited investors, and we've been working on these products for yield for a long time that anybody can participate in. And I think we're about to be able to get them across the line. So excited for that. So again, back to my stuff, probably take 30 to 50%, park it in whatever the yield product is. And then the rest of my portfolio, I'd be looking at, maybe leveraging a portion of it. As long as it's low interest rates, if I get what I want, we'll be able to borrow against XRP at like 2 or 3%. Then you can take that and go buy some HBAR with it. And if we get the stuff to market like I think we're going to, HBAR yields are going to be somewhere between 10 and 20%. And, XRP is already way higher. Borrow against that, take that liquidity, park it in HBAR, which I know is going to grow over the next 5 years and pay me 10 to 20% a year, more than enough to cover that 2% or 3% interest, plus extra income for myself. And I get the appreciation on the HBAR. Or I'd allocate it to the funds or other, early stage startups, real estate, borrow against it 2 or 3% and buy a multifamily property that has 13% cash on cash, and like 21% IRR. So, and then I get the cost seg. Hopefully it's in an opportunity zone and I get to kick the can on that, or defer those taxes for 5 years. So there's just a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing at Digital Wealth Partners and avenues that we're going to be providing people to generate outsized returns. And when you have hundreds of billions of dollars to manage, it's not hard to find investments. I have people that send me emails every single day that have good stuff. We just don't have the appetite for it yet. And we're cataloging all those. So it's not like I don't read them. I read them, put them in my little folder, and I'm like, come back to that later when we have all of this money and there's enough liquidity to be able to fund all these things. So that's what I'm looking at doing. You may have a completely different strategy. I'm in my mid 30s. I have a higher risk tolerance than somebody that's 65. My time horizon's much longer. They're probably not going to be playing in venture capital. Okay. They're going to be looking at parking it at 4% and maybe looking at a money market at 6% and just living off the dividends and letting that compound for anything that they don't spend. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different ways to play it. But it's about wealth preservation. Again, you don't need to roll the dice again. Okay. You already made a big bet and won the big bet the one time. Walk away from the table and, diversify and make sure that things are structured the right way to mitigate risk moving forward. Rock Corp, my man, he says, are we there yet? Mr. Claver, so help me. I will turn this bull around. I love it, dude. Keep praying. Hold your head up, and I think things are about to turn around here. We got Adam. He says, what do you see for Evernode, and what's with all these Ever names? Evernorth is really interesting. It's going forever to the north. I'm not. A lot of stuff is like folklore and stuff that relates back to Lord of the Rings and some other stuff like that. I don't know. Bifrost. There's a bunch of things that have been put that direction. Evernode, Zahao and the Hook sidechain, I think will get migrated to the mainnet. David's talked about that before. It's really just, moving it over there to the side chain to make sure that it's going to be viable for the mainnet. You already have, light smart contracts on Hyperledger, Sorband smart contracts. So we know it's possible to continue to add smart contract capability to something that continues to settle at 1500 TPS or higher. I think they're just waiting to the right time to be able to migrate from that side chain over there to the mainnet. And I don't know what will happen to Evers when that happens. I just, full disclosure, sold all of my trust line stuff back into XRP as soon as I got it. I sold all my Flare at 29 cents on the way down and swapped it for XRP also. So, that was a long time ago, 2022 or 23 when we got that payout finally. 1940s Act, XRP ETFs will buy Evernorth, Amplify, and Rexos so far. Great strategy. Not sure what the 1940s Securities Act had to do with any of that. But, we'll find out if they're going to be an investment company or they're going to have an actual business that goes along with that. Rob says, hey, Jake, onboarded DWP today. Awesome, dude. Thanks for lowering the minimum to 50,000 XRP. God bless you and your family. I'm glad to be working with you, Rob. Thank you so much. Excited to have you over there at Digital Wealth Partners. And again, if you've got 50,000 XRP and you want to protect it like BlackRock, you want to be able to add your spouse on there and beneficiaries. You want to be able to sleep at night knowing, your ledger is not going to get hacked. Nobody's going to fish it away from you. And you have, $100 million worth of insurance on your assets. That's what we do at Digital Wealth Partners. So if that sounds cool to you, if you want to learn more, just go over to digitalwealthpartners.net and use the contact us form. And our team there will reach out to you and answer any questions that you have. We got Jason K. He says the Rex Osprey XRP spot ETF has been doing well. I don't think it says spot ETF. It hasn't affected XRP's price. Why are you so confident that the other ETFs will affect the price if Rex Osprey spot ETF hasn't? I don't think that's a spot ETF, Rex. We'll see right now. I could be wrong. I've been wrong lots of times. Osprey ETF. XRP ETF. First spot XRP ETF. Tops 100 million in AUM. I guess you're right. Is that listed on the New York Stock Exchange? Let's see here. It's on CNBC. Yeah. Okay. Well, we got one. So that's a good question. You need it all at once. There's going to be a trigger event where, again, exchanges need XRP and all these other catalysts happen at the same time. We also haven't seen BlackRock's ETF. And I think that that's going to be the main catalyst. That's what really caused Bitcoin to appreciate substantially, was the BlackRock ETF when it was announced and launched. If you want to look back at November of 2023, they actually filed an iShares Trust ETF for XRP in Delaware. I think it was like November 14th. Maybe they're just a few years early. It's funny, the timing on that. Maybe like they knew. And, we'll see what shakes out. But when people found that, XRP doubled in 30 minutes. And then, it came out that it was fake and it wasn't real, Bloomberg, BS. the people that had to sign those documents to be able to file that form, you can't fake it. Like, it has to be notarized multiple times, and those people have to be present. And there's no way they got that through for a BlackRock ETF. And neither Ripple nor BlackRock actually came out and said that it was fake. The only other fake ETF was launched through Grayscale, and both Grayscale and the CEO of the company that it was launched for came out and said that it was fake immediately. So shoot me, just the messenger. When we see the BlackRock ETF come out for XRP, I think that's when we're going to see major price moves to the upside. We got Rockin' HL. He says, a fuzz premature, but paid for the LLC over the weekend. Got the emails right before the live tonight. I wanted to be ahead of the storm, standing in line, waiting. Really appreciate the speed of your teams. On to the next step. Awesome, dude. Glad to be working with you. And again, if you guys want to set up your LLC and make sure that you are ahead of the curve and getting onboarded and being able to take profits and benefit from these assets, I would highly recommend. Again, don't have to work with us, but if you do want to work with us, we've set up probably close to 5,000 LLCs at this point for people there in Wyoming to be able to manage their digital assets. We do it a very specific way. So we use a holding company, not a trading company, a holding company that manages alternative investments with a sleeve that's crypto. Okay, and the reason we do that, you're able to capitalize on long-term capital gains. We do as a single member LLC, unless you're in one of the 15 states that has a qualified joint venture where you and your spouse can contribute to a company without any tax implications. A single member is the way to do it to not have any tax implications. Multi-members will trigger tax implications if you have appreciation on the asset. Doing it in Wyoming, like I mentioned before, you get creditor protection. You have the anonymity there because the attorney's information is what's listed on the document publicly. You also get, charging order protection there in Wyoming, very similar to Nevada. Nevada and South Dakota are also great jurisdictions to file companies in to be able to protect assets, provide anonymity, have cheap cost of operating. Wyoming's best for digital assets because of the progressive regulations there in that state. So again, if you want to work with us, we would love to work with you and get you set up. So you just go over to digitalfamilyoffice.io and use the code 50OFF, 50OFFDAG LLC. Get you everything end to end for your LLC, including maintaining your corporate veil and the creditor protection that's paramount. Also, I will say this, if you want to set up a living trust to be able to have a pour-in will so that those assets won't go through probate, we'll do that for you also in whatever state you reside in. We can structure that with our paralegal group that we work with named Laughlin, which will, again, be the one that does the corporate veil service and a lot of the other things that we're working with people on. And that's another $500, I think, for the living trust, which is super cheap. If you go work with an attorney in your state, they're going to charge you somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000 just for that living trust. Outward Ripple says, Mom, I and fiance combine XRP to get into DWP. Need dollars separate multi-LLC, not available from DAG. Here, multi-member has extra tax burdens. Low funds, not sure what to do. Can sole LLC work? Ideas. You're not alone on this, and I wish we had a better solution for people. If those are the people involved, you could do a family limited partnership, and we do have a way to do that. It's a little more expensive than the other way to do it. Ends up being like $7,000 for the family limited partnership, which, again, more expensive. I wish I had a better solution at this time. We have to set up 3 different corporations when we do that. That's why it's so expensive. We got to draft documents for all of them. But that is another way to be able to mitigate tax implications. You can do a qualified joint venture, which is, there's 15 states that allow a qualified joint venture between you and your spouse to be able to fund a company together. Most of the time, those are in states where there's not as strong spousal rights. I know that Oregon and California are 2 of those 15 states. I can't name off all of them off my head. Or off the top of my head. So you can do a family limited partnership, single member, or qualified joint venture, and all of those are ways to be able to get your assets into the corporation with no tax implications up front on the initial capital contribution, because that's the way that we do it. you fill out your operating agreement, and the last page of that is the capital contributions page. And, you'll get that notarized, and that serves as a timestamp and date of when that transaction took place. We give you all of that step by step if you work with us. This person's asked XRP price in 2030. I think it could be, high six digits or $1 million by 2030. We'll see. That's my plan. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. This person says, is there support for people with less than 50,000 XRP? Not today, my man. I wish we did. We will continue to build out systems and scale. And over time, we will be lowering the minimums, mainly through price appreciation is the way that we see that happening, though. I'm definitely not going to get through the super chats. If you guys, if I miss your super chat, if you want to join the mastermind and just DM me, I will answer all of them. Sometimes it takes me like a week to get back to everybody. I will be traveling to Vegas tomorrow to meet somebody that you would all know. I'm not going to say who, but I'm excited about it. And we'll report back once things are codified and that partnership can be announced. But till then, again, I normally go through messages on Saturday. So anyway, back to the super chats. If you want me to answer it and I don't get to it tonight, I do want to answer it. Thank you for paying the money. Please just pay the $2 to get in the mastermind and DM me the super chat, and I will make sure that I give you a curated answer specific to you there in the chat. When you join the mastermind, I should probably say this. I will not message you. You can message me. I will answer it. I will never message you. I will never message you on any other social media platform. Any messages from me to you are a scam. I will not message you. I wish I had time to sit down and, and message everybody on social media all day long. I don't. I'm running a large scale business at this point and spend all of my time trying to create relationships and partnerships and additional benefits for our clients, and coach and manage our team and make sure that we have resources for everybody to do their best work. So if you get a message from me, it's not me, it's a scam. Block and report them. If you message me, I will return the message. I will respond to it, but I will never message you first. Back to Tony, my man. He says, legend. What's up, dude? He says, please, pleasant surprise, having a live Q&A tonight. Thank you. If I already have respectable allocation to XRP and HBAR, not financial advice, would you branch out to XLM or keep stacking XRP and HBAR? I don't even own an HBAR, my man. I love HBAR. I love Hash. I love XLM. I love XDC. Algorand. There's a bunch of other digital assets that I love, and I'm still buying XRP. I will continue to only buy XRP. I did spend $2,000 on Hash as a flyer. Okay, so full transparency. I will continue to buy XRP under $50 and nothing else. You do whatever you want, not financial advice. That's just me. Okay, so make your own choices. If you want to talk to Digital Wealth Partners, they're going to be good fiduciaries and tell you to diversify. That's not my game. But again, I'm in my mid-30s. I have a higher risk tolerance than somebody that's maybe a little bit later in life. I have a very strong conviction that this is going to play out the way that I know it's going to play out, whereas other people don't have that, right? So it might be a good idea for you to buy XLM based on your long-term strategy and what's going to happen. So yeah, I might need to cut the live off. I think I'm being too loud in the hotel and people are trying to sleep. I'm going to take 2 more and then we'll wrap it up tonight. Yes. No, thank you. Housekeeping at 10:30 at night. What are people doing? We got Cole. He says, hey, Jake, legend. Your background makes me feel weird. Do you feel like Michael Burry? Every day, I just imagine it's you, I, Max, living legacy and future, eye to eye, and ignoring all the FUD. Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, time. I don't know that I feel like Michael Burry. I feel like Michael Burry was managing a $400 million hedge fund, like a lot of money. And we're close. Actually, we have over that now. We're close to $1 billion in AUM. But everybody invested in XRP on their own accord and brought it to us, right? I probably convinced some people to buy XRP, but again, their prerogative. I think this is a lot cooler than Michael Burry's deal because it's going to be so many people that benefit from it. Whereas most of the people just lost their shorts in 2008. Very few people knew what Michael Burry was doing, and he was pretty much the sole winner. There were a few other people, if you watch The Big Short, that kind of caught on to what he was doing and also piggybacked. But this time there's going to be 50,000 people, 100,000 people all around the world that make a bunch of money. And it's really cool, because you don't want to get rich alone. Like to the other gentleman's point earlier, he was like, family, they're going to come asking for things. If your family invested, they're going to get wealthy too. Your buddies are going to get wealthy too. You guys will all be able to take off work and go hunting together or go get on a yacht or get on a super jet and fly and go on vacations. If you get rich alone, it sucks. Like you have a big pile of money and nobody to have fun with. And if you do have fun with it, you got to pay their way, right? And then that just creates other dynamics and problems. So the mastermind and everything that we have there is I'm just so cool because we have people from all around the world in that community, over 8,500 members, and everybody will be able to go have fun with everybody else. And there's never going to be animosity because one person had to pay and everybody else just kind of rode their coattails. You know what I mean? Like everybody was here and made money together and all made their money the same way. And just, yeah, it's going to be a cool deal. So yeah, it does feel very weird. It feels Burry-esque. But I think this time it's going to be actually a lot cooler than what he ended up going through, which was really kind of him on an island and everybody mad at him. Because he made a bunch of money while everybody else lost their shorts. I'm going to click over here and see if Living Legacy has posted some stuff in the Discord channel for some other super chats. He has. So I'm going to make sure I answer these before we wrap it up tonight. Jason, my man, he says, you're doing the Lord's work and don't ever think that you have to explain it to anyone. I'm part of the mastermind and I can't wait for price appreciation so we can go all in with you guys. Let's do this. Boom. Thank you for the super chat, my man. It's cool. Like I said, I'm really excited for everything that we're going to be able to do in the mastermind with everybody there. And yeah, just yachts in Monaco, all the fun stuff. We'll scroll all the way to the bottom. I'm going to catch a couple more super chats. Like I said, I think they're wanting me to wrap it up here because I'm being loud in the hotel room. Kenny says, Bayou Bottoms guide service. Can't wait to meet you and get rich together. Appreciate you, legend. Let's get some. Awesome, dude. Have to make my way out to Louisiana. I've never been to the French Quarter during why am I blanking on that? Mardi Gras. That's on my bucket list. I definitely want to go to, not necessarily the French Quarter, but to Baton Rouge or somewhere there in Louisiana for Mardi Gras. I think that'd be really cool. We'll take one more and then we'll wrap it up tonight. Let's see here. Thank you guys again for taking time out on your Friday night and hanging out with me, and for all of those that watch this later on. I didn't ever say this. I'm bad about it. If you do like this content, if you think it's awesome or even just a little bit cool, if you wouldn't mind clicking that like button, subscribe, share it with somebody else, turn on the notification bell, all the jazz. It really does help the algorithm and help the channel grow. And again, thank you guys so much. We're like over 140,000 subscribers on YouTube and across the other social media platforms. I never dreamed that this stuff would get this big and like so many people would care what I have to say. So thank you for the support. And if you would do that and be so kind, it would be very helpful. And hopefully it gets this message out to some more people and other people make a bunch of money too. Super chats right up there at the end. I'm going to try to grab one more. Here we go. Miguel. He says, is it actually going to be hard to sell your XRP once massive appreciation hits? Is having a structure like an LLC crucial for getting your money out in the future? I think it'll be easy to sell your XRP. I don't think selling your XRP will be a problem at all. But I do think that owning your XRP, using your XRP in liquidity pools and a bunch of other stuff here in the US is going to be cumbersome if you don't have an LLC in place. Qualified purchasers, I think, are what's going to be available for liquidity pools. I think people are going to need at least a $5 million net worth to participate in stuff. I think they're going to handicap people that don't have large amounts to kind of force them to sell. And I hate that. And we're going to try to make sure we have at least some options for everybody. But I do think, if you don't have your assets in a corporation, you're probably going to face some challenges post price appreciation, especially acquiring any more XRP. I don't think that'll be available to the public at all. So, yeah, but I don't think you'll have a problem selling. There's always going to be a buyer. But I do think participating in ecosystems and potentially buying more XRP or growing your XRP positions could be very difficult post-price appreciation if you don't have it structured inside of a corporation or a trust. So I'd love to be wrong about that. Just full candor here. I don't want to be right. I want there to just be endless amounts of XRP in exchanges and people to be able to buy it for forever. But I think with the amount of structured products that are coming to market with the DATs and the ETFs and the volume of demand that's going to happen from exchanges, other institutions, enterprises, Ripple, and some stuff that we're putting together also, it's not going to be available to retail anymore. So getting structured the right way is going to protect you and your family and be able to help you keep this over the long term. So that's it. We're going to wrap it up tonight. Again, if you guys want to check out the Mastermind, we'd love to have you there. You just go to beyondbroke.com, use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar, gets you the first month for $2 there in Carbon Water Social. Month to month, no contract. Try it out. If you like it, stay. If you don't like it, no big deal. If you do need the LLC, we'd love to work with you on that. Again, doesn't have to be us. You can use another attorney there in Wyoming. But if you want to work with us, it's just at digitalfamilyoffice.io and use the code 50OFF, 50OFF DAGLLC. Get you everything end to end, all that you'd ever want for your management company for your crypto to protect it for $2,000. You can also get the living trust for an extra $500, which again is going to be way cheaper than any other attorney out there, and we're going to do it the right way. And then last but not least, if you have the LLC set up and your trust or other things, and you got at least 50,000 XRP, we would love to work with you at Digital Wealth Partners. And all you got to do is go to digitalwealthpartners.net and use the code. Just kidding, no code for that one. Go to the contact us page and let us know, and we'll be able to answer all your questions there. Again, thank you guys for taking time out on your Friday and hanging out with me over here on TikTok, on X, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Wish you guys a wonderful weekend, and we will see you guys on the next one.